Just Energy with naturopath and medical intuitive Dr. Rita Louise. We have learned from Einstein's theories that matter and energy are one. Physicists believe that all systems in nature have their own particular way of vibrating. From the swing of a pendulum to the waves in the ocean to the light that brightens the sky each day, each of these oscillates at its own unique rate. In the same way, things such as rocks and minerals vibrate very slowly and at speeds that are imperceptible to us. Living things such as plants, animals, and man vibrate faster and appear to be alive. The same holds true for every thought, feeling, event, or word we speak. Each has its own frequency or rate of vibration. What many of us don't realize is if we take everything in our own universe down to its simplest form, it is all just energy. Join Dr. Rita as she explores questions such as, what are we made of? Why do we get sick? How can I live a more balanced and whole life? Call in and talk to her and her thought-provoking guest. Send us your questions and get the help you need to move beyond any obstacles or challenges that may be affecting your life, right from the source. So stay tuned and explore your possibilities.
Hello and welcome to Just Energy Radio. I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning in tonight to the show. So if you've been listening for the last few weeks, or if you're just tuning in today, I just want to give everyone a reminder that starting in July, so in another few weeks, the show will be moving from this time, the 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time Zone slot, to 2 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time every Friday afternoon. And so I hope you will continue listening. The archives will always be available. And so whether you're listening at 2 or we're listening at 7, you'll always be able to listen to and be able to access the Just Energy Radio archives and keep up with our exciting programming. So tonight, we're kind of ending up doing, it seems like lately, we've been ending up with these theme shows, and I guess the theme tonight is about intuition. In the first hour, we have Caron Goode talking about raising intuitive children. And in the second hour, I'm very excited. We have Dr. Mona Lisa Schultz talking about working with your inner physician. And if you're not familiar with Dr. Mona Lisa, she is also a medical intuitive, so we might get into a little intuitive shop talk. It could happen. And so let me get Caron on. Let me give you her intro, and we'll get her on because anymore, people's awareness of intuition in themselves and in their family and in their children is growing. And I think putting out information of how to acknowledge and validate that ability in our children is very important so that we don't, as adults, cut out that ability that many parents have cut out in us, that it took us millions of years to figure out how to turn it back on. So anyway, let me tell you about Caron. Dr. Goode graduated with a doctoral degree from George Washington University in 1983 and is a licensed psychotherapist. She completed postdoctoral certification in wellness and women's spirituality at the Institute for Transpersonal Psychology. In addition, she holds the titles of National Certified Counselor and Diplomat of the American Psychotherapy Association. She is the author of 10 books, 10. The most recent are Help Kids Cope with Stress and Trauma and The Art and Science of Coaching Parents. So please welcome to Just Energy Radio, the author of Raising Intuitive Children, Caron Goode. So Caron, am I saying your last name right? Please say yes. Please say yes.
Oh, not quite. It is good. Just Caron Goode.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Just good. Boy,
you can blame my husband for that one.
Good. Well, yeah.
Yeah, Caron Goode is really sad. That was what my mother used to tell me forever, and I actually married it. Can you believe that?
Ooh, that's scary.
It is. Talk about programming our future.
Now? But
Pardon?
Are you good now?
And
or
even better.
Great? You're great.
I am.
I think you need to tell your husband you're changing your name to Caron. Great.
We've had that joke before.
Ooh. It's all this intuition. It's flying through the airwaves already.
Intuition is really a hot topic right now, isn't it?
Well, it is, but I think it's because so many people are just really acknowledging that gift.
I'm glad it's time.
So, but tonight we're going to talk about kids and children. And over the last, and I'm going to say decade, it could go back further than this, but I'll just throw out decade. People have heard words to describe children as indigos and crystals and earth children. And what do these terms mean? What's an indigo child?
Well, I think that the indigo and the crystal children they're speaking about are the sensitive children. And whether they were born, 2 decades ago or 3 decades ago, the indigo and the crystal's purpose, mission here on the planet now, if I understand Doreen Virtue's work and the other psychics who deal in this realm, it's all about intuition. These kids have exceptional intuition, but I want to use the term intuitive intelligence because, gosh, I taught in schools 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 15 years ago, and I always had these special needs children. And their coping skill was intuition. These were the right brain learners in a left brain classroom. So the fact that children are brighter today is a proven fact, right? They have higher IQs. The fact that we now have neuroscience, which lets us see how children process information, we know that every child has an intuitive capacity. But I think it's like music, it's like reading, it's like any sport. Kids are gifted in some of these areas along a continuum. So indigo and crystal are highly intuitive kids, and we're seeing a lot of them these days, aren't we?
But it doesn't mean that if your child is not, quote unquote, and I'm going to say labeled as an indigo, it doesn't mean that they're not intuitive, correct?
That's correct. I'm not using the labels much in my work because I had to label kids as a special ed teacher. I had to label kids as a psychologist. And I've seen parents, who would offer money, just to have a kid labeled to get help. And now we're labeling on the other end, the gifted, the intuitive, the psychic. Not that they don't have these skills. They do. But I don't want to lay a trip on any kid about being the world savior. They're not. Intuitive people have always been here. And you've got intuitive children who are simply intuitive learners. They feel their way through the world. They're empathic. They're spiritually connected. They also can be psychic. So there's a lot of different intuitive type gifts out there, like the creative. Look at Bill Gates. Look at Richard Branson. They were all not left brain learners. They were right brain creative kids. So there you are. They're everywhere. They're about a fourth of our population, actually.
And so, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about indigo kids, but I just wanted to kind of bring that up as a starting point.
Yeah, it's a good starting point.
But it sounds like what you're saying is that people have always been intuitive, and I agree with that. And so I guess the question is, based on your observation, do you think children are coming through more intuitive than they had in the past, or people are just more aware of the child's intuitive ability or different skill set more now than they were 50 years ago, 100 years ago, but the level of intuition or the level of creativity or the level of sensitivity hasn't really changed?
Well, I think there's 3 factors. One is I think that children's sensitivity levels have increased because of environmental influences. I also think that due to better health and nutrition and those kinds of things, our children do have different gifts and higher IQ. Some of our kids are beginning to test off the IQ tests that we have developed to measure them. So I think all of those factors are true. I think they're coming in brighter. I think that their adaptation to the environment has left a lot of nervous systems too sensitive in a way. And I think that the educational system and whole brain learning has helped us identify kids of different levels of awareness. So new awareness is also right there on top, particularly with some of the tests that we have now that show that our gut can be intuitive and that our brain does have the intuitive processing. So I think all of those factors contribute.
So this has kind of been my observation, because what you were saying in your book, I don't want to say surprised me, but the way that it was written, and this isn't a slam or anything, but the way that it was written, it was sounding like there were a lot of these advanced kids. And I'll admit, I used to watch Judge Judy all the time, and she would always have these kids on her show, or I'd go to my kids' school, and I would see, their classmates or kids their age, and you would look in their eyes, and they seemed dead, or they didn't open their eyes all the way, that there was they were just at half mast, and I don't know, I would look at them and go, where are you?
Hello. Anybody home?
But then you would look at other kids and their eyes are wide open and there's a sparkle in their eye, and I just feel like I see, and maybe I just am, tuning into those half-mast kids. A lot of those also, there's almost a dichotomy happening with children, that there are some that are exceptionally bright and open, and then there's this other group that aren't?
I think that all of our children are being impacted by the environment. I think they all have been impacted in various ways by some of the high-tech and low-touch advances that have been going on. You see it in adults too. You see it in coworkers. Numbed out may be a better way to put it, but I'm not really just even speaking of gifted children. This book was just written specifically for that 1/4 of the kids that process information in an intuitive way. And yes, there's a lot of TV and media about, the psychic kids, so to speak. But I don't think that makes it our norm. I just think that shouts it to the world, hey, there's intuitive kids out there, wake up. Their right brain, they don't fit into your left brain thinking pattern. They require different ways of strategizing their way through the world, managing stress, self-regulation, if you will, not dumbing down their creativity because they can't sit in a classroom for hours at a time. They need movement. Intuitive learners really do have specific needs. Just like a cognitive child in a classroom, Rita, would really require a certain kind of visual approach. So these, I hope, I'm making more real, more concrete, more touchy-feely and understood by parents. So when these children are in their family, they're no longer called, the black sheep, the ugly duckling, the loner, the sensitive one, etc. We just don't want parents to pass these kids off, nor do we want parents to hail them as the saviors, okay? No trips, no ego trips, no, put down trips, that's all.
And I believe that everybody is intuitive, and so even if your child tends to be a cognitive learner, it doesn't mean that you can't help them to develop and acknowledge and recognize their intuitive nature and figure out how they process information intuitively either. I mean, because
as the way to help them get through. That's correct. You're right. This is just calling attention to the fact that this particular process of learning, this particular way of moving through the world, has been the least recognized over the years, and it's coming into prominence. So, we're happy for that.
And it's about time.
Hey, we agree. It is about time, isn't it?
Well, there has been so much. All right. I mean, I do readings for my clients. I mean, that is my business, either straight psychic readings or medical intuition evaluations. And I have so many clients that come that want to know if they're intuitive or if they're a healer or something along that line. If someone says that I have the, healing abilities, but I don't feel anything, and you start looking at them and talking to them, and they have this history of their family poo-pooing it and having it be a bad thing or you're going to burn in hell. And so when they were very young, it was a very natural gift, and they're talking to Aunt Mary, who's over here, who's been dead for the last 10 years, but it's like, oh, you can't do that. Aunt Mary's dead. That's bad.
Exactly.
And they shut it off, and I feel like even bringing that information up allows parents to not invalidate their child so that when they get older, they're not having to unlearn all of the bad stuff that was put on them because they saw Aunt Mary.
You're right on there. I have a similar background to yours. I do spiritual readings, and I am a medical intuitive, but an interesting thing happened on the way to the hospital one day in the year 2000. They gave me too much anesthesia, and when I came back from that experience, my body took a long time to heal, and it was a matter now of learning how to be in the world. And I'll tell you, this passion rose to help the intuitive parents and the intuitive kids understand each other, communicate, find successful ways of negotiating their way through this world. So I'm like you. I used to see a lot of moms, and they'd bring their kids, and these kids would have a good imagination or a desire to paint. Sometimes it wasn't, being psychic or seeing Aunt Mary, sometimes it was just a really artistic, creative, inspired mind that they couldn't shut down. And then my own stepson came into my life years ago when he was 13, a musician now, successful, very successful musician, but at 13 he'd lock himself in his room with his guitar. I wouldn't see him for the whole weekend. I worried about this kid, just like these parents worried about their kids. Is he going to be okay? He doesn't have any friends. He's 13. He should be out hanging out with his peers. And, my stepson said to me, you've got to trust me. This is what I love. This is going to rule my life. This is how I'm going to earn a living. And so you need to let me do what I need to do. So I let him teach me, and I ask him questions, and I let him guide me. And I think that's the difference with parents today. They're asking for help. Like you said, when a parent comes to you and they're kind of curious about whether they have any healing type gifts, any intuitive aspects they can develop, boy, does it change the whole generation of thinking in one family, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, exactly. Well, I have a sister who has an autistic son who has these little playmates, and they bought one of those blow-up Santas or Santa things that you put out in the yard, and when they brought it back in the house, he would go talk to Santa in the corner, and he'd have these in-depth conversations that she has absolutely no idea what it was about because she's kind of nonverbal with Santa. And she's like, okay, now he's talking to Santa for hours. And I'm like, well, he brought in another entity. He's hanging out in Santa. If you want him to go to bed, tell his friend he has to leave because it's time for your son to go to bed. And so now she has these conversations with all of his playmates that are around the house, and part of her thinks she's nuts, but the other part is she knows that that's what's going on. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't make him stop. She just accepts that that's how he is.
Well, that's what my stepson did for me. It's like, okay, you're a teacher. You think things should be this way. And bingo, he pressed my button. Yeah, you're right, I have a lot of shoulds about what step families should be and how we should communicate and blah, blah, blah. And his thing was, look, I'm here. Just listen to me, would you? So to me, that's a blessing. If all of us as parents, especially of intuitive children, can allow them their drama, their artistic abilities, their inspired abilities. I mean, research has shown that high levels of intuition are pretty much equated with an alpha brainwave. And that's the same brainwave pattern that a lot of our children who are labeled ADHD exhibit. So are they really ADHD or are they intuitive? Are they both? These are some tough questions parents have to face with their kids in school nowadays.
Mm-hmm. It is. So you've been talking about different aspects, but when we talk about intuition, are we all built the same, or do we possess different gifts in varying degrees?
A little bit of both. Go back to Carl Jung, who said that we all process information in 4 ways. And intuitive, was right up there along with visual learning and auditory processing and sensing the world. So yeah, we all have the same apparatus, we all have the same organs, we all have the same abilities. So intuitive children, their gifts show up in different ways. Let's look at an athlete like Kendall Gammon. A friend of mine, he used to be the snapper for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I used to talk to him about his intuition as an athlete, because all you ever hear about athletes is practice the skill, practice the skill. Well, he will say, look, I could snap that ball 300 times a day in practice, but it's an intuitive moment when he has to know precisely the second to snap it back to the quarterback or the kicker at that time. And that's his take on athletes, doctors, ballerinas, people who are in the arts that work with their body have this sixth sense about their muscles and their location of their body in space and the trust of their body. And we call that an intuitive gift. Children who are empathic, they have this deep sense of other people's feelings. They can read them. They can feel them. They can so align with them that sometimes younger children, like Caden, we mentioned this young boy who's age 7 in the book, my co-author's son. He would come home from school and he would be telling the story as if it were his own, because he so identified with other children's emotions. And it wasn't his story, it was another child's story. So there are issues like this that cause meltdowns, and there are wonderful, easy, simple strategies, all natural, no drugs, that can help kids learn boundaries, learn to own their own story, learn to pull back from other overwhelming emotions that cause them confusion. So the emotional gifts, the physical gifts, the creative gifts we've already mentioned in people like Bill Gates, my stepson with his music pouring through his head. To me, these kids have a switch. These adults have a download, if you will, of inspiration that they can't turn off. So how do we take that and make it creative and channel it into really fun activities for these kids? Think of the magnet schools that are built around the dramatic arts. These are the creative kids that are given an opportunity to really fly. So a highly intuitive kid would have psychic skills. You would see them talking to ghosts and being able to commune with the non-physical world, right?
Sure would. Caron, we need to take a quick break. I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Just Energy Radio. We're talking to Caron Goode from www.raisingintuitivechildren.com, and we will be back after these words from our sponsors.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages.
sensitive to energy? Want to explore the world beyond the five senses? Looking for a new career as an alternative healthcare practitioner? Then the Institute of Applied Energetics, Medical Intuition, and Energy Medicine Training programs may be right for you. Our comprehensive curriculum provides students with a deep understanding of how to detect, evaluate, and transform the subtle body, as well as techniques for correcting energetic imbalances that may underscore a person's ability to experience radiant health. So if you are sensitive to energy, contact the Institute of Applied Energetics right away. Be a catalyst for changing the way healthcare is done around the world. Visit www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com and start your new career today. Hey, it's Dr. Rita Louise. Don't forget to sign up for our free online newsletter at justenergyradio.com. It'll keep you informed of who's coming on the show each week. And don't forget, explore your possibilities every Friday night. Don't miss a single episode of Just Energy Radio. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Are you feeling stuck and unsure which way to turn on your path? Do you lack focus and direction in life? Do you feel something is missing? So what do you want? A better job, your dream home, more money, your ideal mate? Dakara has practical tools to assist you. Schedule a session today to get clear about what you truly desire to deliberately create the life you want. For more information, visit manifestingconsultant.com or call toll-free 1-800-813-3877.
Go deep inside yourself and venture into the realm of the unconscious mind with my Meditating on the Kabbalah guided imagery audio CDs. Discover who you are and what you want in life. Meditating on the Kabbalah can help you to open, clear, and revitalize the energetic pathways of your subtle being. They will support you in your spiritual quest by helping you to access the profound insights and inner guidance you need as you work in alignment with your highest good. Let them help you to release negative thoughts and emotions and clear away any limitations that may be keeping you from experiencing your full potential. Walk down the path to health, healing, understanding, and enlightenment with Meditating on the Kabbalah. Order your copy today at www.soulhealer.com. That's right, that's www.soulhealer.com.
And now back to Just Energy Radio with Dr. Rita Louise.
Hello and welcome back to Just Energy Radio. I'm Dr. Rita Louise and we're talking to Caron Goode about her book, Raising Intuitive Children. So Caron, what can people do? What can parents do, if anything, to evaluate their child's intuitive type or their ability? You know, if they have an intuitive, I believe that every child is intuitive. Everybody's intuitive. So we're not even going to say whether their child's intuitive or not. They just might not be as intuitive as another person. But, what can a parent do? Because I think regardless of their skill at using it, they're still going to interface somehow. And I'm not making sense. But what can a parent do to evaluate what kind of intuitive gifts their child has?
I think the first thing is actually to look at all 5 areas of their child. We're all physical, social, mental, intuitive, spiritual creatures. And they're going to find their child being strongest in one of those. Now, I just pair intuitive intelligence with one of those areas. So in the book, they can look at the charts to see what's pouring out of their child's creative mind, if they have a depth of feeling or sensitivity, if they're actually exhibiting psychic skills. There's a list of those in there. And then there's what we call our spiritual connection. Some people, some children, obviously a lot of children, but we don't always keep it when we grow up, have a feeling of being directly connected to either God or the stars or their pets or nature per se. And we call that a type of intuitive intelligence because of their feeling nature. So first they're going to look at the chart and determine where their kid feels their way through the world, through sports, through emotions, through social skills, through spirituality. And then they're going to be looking for a consistency. A lot of us, you said already, and I agree, we have a lot of intuitive episodes. My grandmother saw her husband after his death one time. My mother saw my father one time after his death. Those are kind of normal occurrences. We call them intuitive episodes, and they didn't repeat themselves. So an intuitive child with some level of a gift is going to be consistent in that gift, like your friend's autistic son speaking consistently over time to a lot of different things and people or entities or spirit people that she can't see. But she trusts it because it's there. It's consistent. He repeats it. He's good at it. And, you know, like my stepson, they may get upset when you try and steer them away from it. You know, there's no way I can turn off the music in my husband's head. He listens to it all day long. Finally got it out to a CD. But I didn't want to interrupt him during those moments. So once we look for the area that they may have high intuition, once we see a consistency in certain behaviors, we can be pretty sure that that's something that, you know, they're good at and might want to pursue. Then I observe and I watch and I ask questions. Would you like to do that? Would you like to express that in art? Would you like to write a story about that ghost you talked to? So it's just kind of accepting it as a natural way, but we do look for consistency and we do look for an expression of the skills where they seem to find confidence, where they seem to have success. Make sense?
It totally makes sense. And I think that's really a very simple way of explaining it, is to just observe what they do naturally, because it's just going to be how you are. You know?
If it's part of their natural ability, we'll see that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no one's going to argue with my grandmother seeing her husband, and no one will argue with a mother's intuition about her child being sick or her child needing something. You know, so why do we argue about a kid making things up or having an active imagination or being overly sensitive or accusing them of not knowing something because they're too young?
Mm-hmm.
I just love all the things that we've said over generations. Boy, is it time for a revolution here.
So let me ask this. So so I read it, and one of the things that I figured out is that I'm a doer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
You're a doer type parent?
Huh?
You're a doing type parent? You like to get things done?
Oh, my God. Well, I mean, I've always been a doer. You know, I've always worked on
temperament.
something.
Okay.
Always. Always had projects. If I wasn't, like, climbing a fence, I say now that if they had drugs back then, ooh.
Good to put you on, huh?
High. Yeah. And one of my sons was very empathic. Oh, we clashed.
I can see that.
I would your book then. So, would it be a good idea? I mean, I found it was really good for me, you know, in the hindsight, to get an idea of where I am and how I grew up and where I was, because I kind of went through the different categories and said, okay, you know, well, this one's really high, this one, not so much, you know, this one more, and then kind of looked at my kids, and then before I got to the section on parents, and then it was like, ooh, no wonder. But is it a good idea for a parent to kind of get an idea of where they're at and where their strengths are and their abilities are, so that they can figure out and strategize how to deal with their child if their child doesn't learn in the same way.
You bet. In fact, we teach the whole spectrum of styles at the Academy for Coaching Parents, but this book about the intuitive style is obviously, my fun, my area. So in that book, we do have chapters on the parent who, like you, is a doer, and, let's get things done. And when I say take out the trash, let's go take out the trash this moment, let's get it done. And you've got an artistic or an empathic child who dawdles, who isn't in time like you are. They're more in their head, a little airy-fairy in some of their inspirations. Yeah, you both could clash. My daughter is a cognitive parent. She's a thinker. When her son was 6 months old, she was already talking to him about the world. And now that he's 2.5, she talks to him about what he should do and shouldn't do. And I try to explain to her, his mind is in a really dreamy state. He's not hearing you. Connect in a different way. But she likes to explain things, and so she does. And that's her parenting style. And the empath, the one who feels deeply, will feel their child a lot differently than the doer. So I think it's extremely helpful in this particular book. And parents have thanked us, Rita, for putting in how kids and parents might clash, how they can communicate, how they can cooperate, how they can be in partnership. That's what that book is for.
Oops. Karen, are you still there?
I am. I'm here. Yes. Hello? Yeah, the thunder's in the background, but I haven't been disconnected yet. Did we lose Rita?
We're reconnecting now, but apparently she couldn't hear us, but we heard her.
Let me know if you'd like me to go ahead.
Yeah, just keep going talking here while we reconnect. This is odd.
While we have lightning storms in the area, we may have lost Rita for the moment. Let me continue to share with you that the different parenting styles are our temperament styles. So if you're a high achiever and a doer, you may not have the same kind of kid who likes to do things with you. They may be more artistic in their head. They may feel more deeply and want to talk about feelings. So it's easy for a parent to shift a style and just listen. It's not that you can't be who you are as a parent, but it's just shifting your state just long enough to be with your child in a really compassionate listening space. Think of you, the cognitive parent. I mentioned my daughter likes to explain and lives in the world of ideas. An intuitive child lives in the world of feeling. So how can you bring feeling and ideas together? We do it by sharing activities. We do it by connecting in the heart and talking about what their experiences are. Tell me about the picture that you drew. Tell me about the music in your head. Tell me about the project that you're dreaming of. So there are ways to ask the right questions for a child who feels deeply or a creative child with a lot of great ideas. Let's say that you are a harmonizing type parent. You like peace in your household. You're very adaptable. You're a peacekeeper. If you're that kind of parent, it's very easy to follow your child's leads and ask them, how would you like me to work with your homework tonight? Can I help you with that project, or would you rather do it alone? Sometimes intuitive children prefer to be alone. They like to work in their own space. They like to feel and think about things. But here's what your harmonizing parent and child will feel together. And this is the greatest part. Together, you can really create a lot of beautiful vibrations in your home. I've had children walk into a relative's home and it doesn't feel good to them, so they take a moment to close their eyes and take a giant paintbrush and just paint rainbows all over the house so that it feels good to them. And it's those little kinds of things that intuitive children like to do to make their environments feel comfortable for them.
I'm sorry, we're having difficulties here with our connection with Dr. Rita, so I'm resetting things. But we can hear you fine, so if you want to continue until the break, apologize for this. This is our network problem, not Dr. Rita.
That's all right. So we have 4 types of parenting according to temperaments. We have the doer, we have the thinker, the one who lives in a world of ideas. We have the harmonizer, who likes to keep peace among people and in the family. And then we also have the intuitive parent. And however you parent, the intuitive child, you have to know, has 3 qualities that you look for. They're feelers. They feel their way to the environment. They like to feel material. They like to feel people. They like to work with textures, for example, in painting or drawing. They like to build. The other aspect of the intuitive child is they are independent learners. So there are times they want to tackle a project by themselves. Even if it means doing it wrong 10 times, you have to understand that one time that they get it right because they solve the problem is absolutely like a starburst of creativity, imagination, and success. That one little success carries the creative child right into the next project and beyond. But it's not that we can tell them how to explore their environment. They like to explore it on their own. And they may truly see the invisible world that some parents can't see. And they'll explore that too. So nature lovers might love to collect rocks and spend time alone cracking them open and comparing crystals and feeling them and talking about them. That's just one aspect of a child who's really connected to nature. But they don't always want a parent's interference. So being an independent learner can be great for a doer parent. Sure, let them do it too. Excellent. A harmonizing parent might want to help, and an intuitive parent might sit there calmly and with patience and simply help them through any situation, lesson, task, or spelling that they need. I think in my own practice, here's what I have found to be the most difficult situation. Are children who see ghosts or spirit people and parents not understanding if that's an imagination, if that is something the children picked up from television and scared them at night when they woke up.
Well, we'll have to hold on there, take a break, and we'll be back hopefully with Dr. Rita on Just Energy Radio. So stay tuned, and we will be right back. Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages.
And discover alternative solutions to your deepest concerns at soulhealer.com. So whether it's a physical problem, an emotional issue, a question about work, or troubles in your relationship, naturopath and medical intuitive Dr. Rita Louise can help you bring peace, harmony, and health back into your life. Schedule a session today. Visit soulhealer.com right away and live the life you've been dreaming of. Hi, I'm Dr. Rita Louise, the host of Just Energy Radio and the founder of the Institute of Applied Energetics. Start a new career today on the leading edge of alternative health and healing. The Institute of Applied Energetics can help you develop the specialized skills you need to work as an energy medicine practitioner, intuitive counselor, or professional medical intuitive. Besides our outstanding technical instruction, our programs also support you in creating and building a successful business in this rapidly growing field.
be a catalyst for changing the way healthcare is done around the world. Contact the Institute of Applied Energetics right away or visit appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. You can get a copy of Dr. Rita's latest book, Avoiding the Cosmic 2x4, by visiting www.soulhealer.com. Get your copy today.
Just Energy Radio wants to help you grow your business. Just Energy Radio has a growing global audience which can provide you with an unequaled opportunity to educate thousands of people about the products and services you have to offer. Through our targeted market, your ad is more likely to connect with like-minded individuals who will respond to your message. In addition, our archiving feature will allow your ad to be heard over and over again. Join the Internet Marketing Revolution and take advantage of our low introductory prices. Visit JustEnergyRadio.com for more information.
Move past the crossroads in your life and discover alternative solutions to your deepest concerns at SoulHealer.com. So whether it's a physical problem, an emotional issue, a question about work, or troubles in your relationship, naturopath and medical intuitive Dr. Rita Louise can help you. Bring peace, harmony, and health back into your life. Schedule a session today. Visit SoulHealer.com right away and live the life you've been dreaming of.
And now back to Just Energy Radio with Dr. Rita Louise.
Hello and welcome back to Just Energy Radio. I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and we're here talking to Caron Goode about her, Caron Goode, not Goody, she's great, about her book, Raising Intuitive Children. So Caron, we're kind of getting toward the end. So how's about this? How does one know or recognize, if I could read my own handwriting, where this is, how can you tell if your child is actually, and I'm going to say, manifesting his or her ability or just having bad behavior? You know, and as an example, like my stepson, empath, and he did things in his own time. Okay, his brother, everybody except me did everything in their own time, which personally drove me crazy. Now, how can someone tell if that was just them being them, or if it was because their dad did everything in his own time and he just taught them to do everything in their own time and it was really bad behavior on their part? How do you begin to separate out ability from not ability and maybe some programming or whatever on their part?
Again, Rita, what I always fall back on when parents ask me similar questions is the consistency of behavior. For example, if an empathic child is pretty shy, and they, act out before they're going into preschool or going into first grade, a parent will know that it's their temperament and not so much behavior. But if a child is pretty much good-natured and there's like a hiccup or a burp in that behavior of irritation or anger or something out of the ordinary for those kids, then that to me symbolizes a need that needs to be met, and the behavior becomes a symptom of what that need is. My stepson, for example, in his creative moods could be very moody. He could walk downstairs to join us for dinner with this harumph on his face, as if our world had disturbed his by calling him to dinner. And, at first I took it very personally, but as I came to know the child, that was part of his consistent behavior when his music was interrupted. He just got a little gruff, and then once he joined the family, he completely changed into the fun-loving, talkative kid that we all, knew as our brother or son. So to me, it's consistency of behavior. And I think most parents would recognize that burp or that hiccup where something becomes more symptomatic because it's speaking from the depth of feeling that intuitive kids have. And if that feeling seems accosted or assaulted or disturbed or stressed out, we're going to see it. We're going to see it in those behaviors.
Cool. And so earlier we were talking a little bit about ADD and ADHD, and I agree with your assessment that, to me, there's a question about what's really going on with those children. And how much of it do you think has to do with diet, or the fact that many kids don't have the opportunity to burn off energy?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with diet, and we have entire chapters on the book about environmental sensitivities and how particular kids act in it. But I have to agree with you. I think if I'm sitting in a classroom, a lot of it, if I'm sitting in a left-brain classroom specifically, I do believe a lot of it is the need to burn off energy. The intuitive learner specifically really and truly needs to move. I can remember sitting in first grade and second grade and third grade in this little Catholic school in Lawton, Oklahoma, and I would kick my leg. I'd cross my legs and I would kick and tap and kick and tap. And I mean, seriously, they thought something was so wrong with me that they sent me to the doctor to check me out for worms. Let's face it, I needed to be outside. I needed to climb trees. I needed to dance. I needed to move. And now I can sit for hours and write, but I'm just one example of a kid that felt my way into the classroom, feel my way through the world, like most psychics and intuitives, I imagine, I would think. They need to move. Exercise balls you can sit on. Move just to a pillow. Stand up and stretch. There are actually exercises that teachers are now doing in classrooms that are like neurologically aligning both brains, left and right. So there's easy stuff to do. We even taught full wave breathing in a first grade classroom. And just taking a deep breath into the gut is enough to calm kids down. So medication, if it's for movement or hyperactivity, can also be alleviated through natural means.
Oh, I totally agree. As I said earlier, if they were handing out drugs the way they are now, they would have had me so doped up because I had to go out and run up and down the street and ride my bike and climb a tree and go climb on this and climb up the walls, and God forbid I was stuck in the house for too long.
Amen to that. I'm with you.
I just can't even imagine how kids can sit in front of the tube and play computer games all day and all weekend, and we would send my kids outside, like, go out and play. And they would sit on the front stoop because they didn't know what to do.
Yep. Interesting, huh?
Really interesting. It's like, well, go run down the street, get on your bike, go do something, anything. So,
even putting music on in the house, and just kind of moving around doing chores. I mean, it can be as easy as that. Putting music on in the classroom and taking some stretch breaks. It can be as easy as that.
So your book is pretty new. When did it come out?
This book was out in May, so it is brand new.
It is brand new, and so if somebody wants to get a copy of it?
Amazon, any bookstores, or they can go, if they'd like to download a free chapter to get a sense of the book, they can go to raisingintuitivechildren.com. Same URL as the book title.
Cool. So do you have any parting words, first steps for parents that have children that think they might have an intuitive child?
Really what I would like to say to parents is, watch and observe. And these are the kids whose hand you want to take and kind of explore this together. they don't know their gifts any more than you might not know them or recognize them. And so it's an exploration through feelings together. It's an exploration through creativity together. And that's the way I suggest it be done. Just, be partners in this. Ask questions, listen, talk it through.
Well, that's a big step for some people.
Yes, it is. I know. It requires connection rather than control, doesn't it?
Yeah. Caron, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your information and your insights. You're great.
Thank you, Dr. Rita. I so appreciate it.
All right. And so that was Caron Goode, RaisingIntuitiveChildren.com, her book, Raising Intuitive Children. I'm Dr. Rita Louise. We'll be back after these words from our sponsor.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages. Are you getting your greens? Now you can have your greens and drink them too with Inner Food by Inner Health Botanicals. Inner Food promotes health and boosts energy with nature's finest superfoods. Inner Food is 70% organic and 100% natural without fillers and is a whole food product totally assimilated by the body. Inner Food is spirulina, chlorella, dulse, kelp, spinach, alfalfa, barley, wheatgrass, rosehip, beetroot, and much more in real amounts, not just a sprinkle to fill out an inflated but impotent list of ingredients. Just mix a tablespoon in your protein shake or in your favorite fruit juice and you are good to go and go and go. Other greens on the shelf typically weigh 300 grams and sell for between $35 and $70. Inner Food is a full 400 grams, 33% more for $39.95 plus shipping. Simply go to our website, InnerStreamsRadio.com, and click on any Inner Health Botanical banner and you're ready to order. Or call 866-762-9238 and be sure to mention you heard them on Inner Streams Radio. Inner Food, building health from the inside out. 70 million Americans suffer from sleep deficit. I'm James Afayanchik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio, and I'd like to tell you about Earth Pulse Magnetic Field Supplementation. While using the Earth Pulse device, I found that I drifted off to sleep faster, I slept deeper, and I woke up more refreshed, and it does much, much more. Call them right now at 888-211-7888 or check out their website at www.earthpulse.net. But wait, there's more. When you buy a new digitally programmed Earth Pulse version 4 magnetic supplementation device and use the special InnerStreams Radio coupon code ISR, you'll receive an instant $50 savings. No rebates to get lost in the mail. Just $50 more in your pocket on your way to better health. 888-211-7888 or check out their website at earthpulse.net and use the special InnerStreams Radio coupon code ISR. Earth Pulse. Deeper, more restful sleep or your money back. The Berkey water system is more than a water filter. It's a natural purification system that yields 99.99% pure, toxin, and biopathogen-free water from any water source without electricity. Many supermarket paper and charcoal filters catch, for a while anyway, some impurities that make water taste bad. The Berkey ceramic hard rock filters with their zillions of little micro holes go much further and trap everything from parasites to bacteria to chemical toxins and molecular-sized contaminants, even fluoride and arsenic. Trace elements and minerals necessary for life are filtered out by most reverse osmosis systems. The Berkey systems allow these through to nourish and energize you, your family, your pets, and the plants under your care. What about lugging bottled water home every week? The Berkey pure water systems are many times more pure than the so-called spring water, and the cost-convenience factor will amaze you. With simple, regular cleanings, your Berkey